Our next speaker is Dr. Neeraj Israni, who's a cataract and refractive surgeon practicing in Vasi, Maharashtra. And he is going to show us an interesting case of a traumatic cataract. On to you, doctor.
So my case is a 22-year-old male patient. He had a trauma, as you can see on the slit lamp, more than 180-degree iridodialysis. Initially, there was some hyphema which was controlled, and then I planned to do a phacoemulsification with iris hooks and iridodialysis repair. So first incision we gave inferiorly, and then I decided to use 3 iris hooks. Now the important...
Your videos are not moving.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it moving now?
No. No.
What about now? I think, can the video be played from there?
Mr. Sharik, I think
yes.
we should keep it all in sequence so that in a minute we play.
Yes, ma'am. As soon as we got a cue, we'll start playing from here.
Yeah.
I'll start playing.
It was initially playing when I tested it. If it's played, I'll repeat.
Yeah, it will play. Mr. Sharik, you play it. Take time or what?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So as you can see, a 22-year-old male patient had a trauma with a large rubber band, and there was a iridodialysis of more than 180 degree, as you can see over here. So initially there was some inflammation. After controlling the inflammation, I planned a phacoemulsification with iris hook with iridodialysis repair. And the first incision I made was inferiorly. High molecular weight visco was used. While putting iris hooks in such cases, it is very important to remember to pull the iris very gently and carefully, because already there is a tear and it may actually extend the dialysis even further. So once I have the iris hooks nicely placed, then the next step comes to do a rhexis. Again, while performing a rhexis in such a traumatic cataract, tangential circumferential rhexis is very important, because we don't know if we have missed any weakness, zonular weakness in such cases. Then I did a gentle hydrodelineation, and with the help of the phaco, it was with keeping the parameters very low bottle height, low vacuum. It was just an aspiration without using any power. Again, in this case, while doing a phaco and while doing a good cortical wash, we have to be very gentle, and we have to make sure that whatever movements are there, they are all tangential, because if there is a zonular weakness, we don't want it to extend. So as you can see, I am doing a good cortical wash over here. And then once the cortical wash was completed, I put a 3-piece IOL. So a 3-piece IOL was then placed in the bag. Once this was done, then I have a good buffer, and now I can do a good iridodialysis repair. So I gently remove the iris hooks again. So this is the moment that I usually twist the iris hooks, and a good conjunctival peritomy. So I'm sitting temporally. So a peritomy is done with a good hemostasis, and I create I take 1.5 mm away from the limbus measurement, and I create a scleral groove, which is similar to the Hoffman's pouch. And after doing the scleral groove, this is to repair the 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock position of the iris. And while what I do is I take a 9-0 Prolene suture, and with the help of the micro grasper forceps, we actually stretch the iris so that there is a good approximation. And taking the groove as the guide, we take the first first needle out of the groove, and similarly we leave a space of around 1 clock hour between the first and the second loop. And once the loop is now in the anterior chamber, we then cut off the needles from this. So this is the first loop that I created. Similarly, I extended the peritomy, and another groove was created. And in the same fashion itself, again, we passed the 9-0 Prolene suture from the same port, and again the second loop was then created. For the third suture, we had to actually change our position. So this is the railroad technique that I'm trying to perform over here. And as you can see, I just gently hold the 26 number needle in my left hand, and with the right hand I pass the 90 proline suture. And the third loop, so this is the animation. There are 3 loops that are there. It's important to separate the sutures away from each other. And once I have tied the loops of the sutures, I can bury them in the scleral groove that I had created. And as you can see, the case was, this is a round, fairly round pupil. I don't plan to do a pupilloplasty right away, but there are few sphincter tears. And in the end, I just, I close the conjunctiva with 10-0 nylon. This is how I tried to manage this case. And on post-op day 3, this was a picture. And I would like to have opinions from the stalwarts, what else I could have done in this case. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Brilliant video. Very
Fantastic.
nicely shown. Just a minute. Yeah,
Yeah.
very nicely shown, Dr. Neeraj. So I would want thoughts of the expert. Like initially, it has been a direct pass of a 90 proline. So which would be the better way to do a railroading right from the beginning, or passing a suture through the iris the way you did in the initial parts? The second question is, why does it make sense to suture them at the same time to create equal tension, or that is the second question. I would want Ragini or Mohan, anybody could.
Yeah, I can actually beautiful video, Neeraj, beautifully managed. You have done it in the, I think the third one, the third groove, you have put the 26 gauge needle. I wouldn't do that.
Yes.
I just put a straight away 90 proline or 10-0, whatever you're using, straight away, because the 26 gauge needle itself can produce a big hole on the remaining, that iris, sometimes it can produce a tear in the iris, and the entire battle is lost because of that. Nowadays, I'm doing what Amar has suggested is a trocar assisted iridodialysis repair. So the trocar, if you put a trocar on that side, because you do not know, sometimes the needle can go this way, that way. It's a long needle. It's very difficult to control that needle. So if you put a trocar and put a needle underneath the trocar, inside the trocar, then the needle will go exactly where you want to go, in the direction, exactly the straight, because the trocar will prevent the needle from going this side, that side. Otherwise, a long needle, very difficult to control the direction. It may go like this, like ozzle, very difficult. So otherwise, fantastic.
Thank you.
Excellent video, Neeraj. I mean, beautiful demonstration, very controlled surgery. I think the point Mohan and Chitra are making a little different. I would have passed my sutures exactly the way you did the third one, in the sense that it's not a good idea to pass the 26 gauge needle through the iris tissue. And you did the right thing by holding it with the micro forceps and passing the needle to the iris. But when it comes to, you're fortunate that, when you blindly pass the needle through the sclera from the inside out, it exactly came through the groove, but you have no control over there. So I would have actually passed the needle through the iris, but like you did in your third suture, each time I would have passed a 26 gauge needle through the groove, so that I exactly know where my needle is going to come out, then railroad it and bring it outside, and then tied them up. I think maybe you had such good control and you managed to get it each time out of the same groove. But I think that was something being blindly done. So the third time what you did was the way I would have done. But otherwise, I think nothing better could have been done.
Supposing it's a non-oppositional kind of iridodialysis, I have just no idea. I haven't done that, but I wanted to know, would you think of doing a pupilloplasty and then addressing that area? I'm asking you, Dr. Neeraj.
Yeah, ma'am, if it was a non-opposing iridodialysis, then it would have been a completely different case. A pupilloplasty would have been a better option rather on. So that is why, if you see the pupil even now, it is a dilated pupil, and I thought of performing, but then it was already too much manipulation. So in that case, probably a pupilloplasty would have been better, followed by whatever we could salvage.
And in these kind of situations, I want the expert to tell me, like, how would you plan your post-op management with so much of iris tissue? He has done it in a very casual way, as if it was just one step of the surgery. What would be the extra medications we would advise for these patients, I suppose?
The topical steroids very aggressively, and NSAIDs as well for these patients, and sometimes Mydriatic also. Because inflammation is likely to, once you touch the iris, the prostaglandins are going to get released into the eye. And you can have not only iritis, iridocyclitis, inflammation, fibrin, something like TAS also, or even CME for that matter.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically inflammation, pressure is something, because normally there's a very severe trauma, there would have been some angle recession, and also you need to keep a watch on that. And obviously the third, what commotion, there is likely to be something and could get so I will definitely do an OCT pre-op for all these patients, because after doing such a great work, Neeraj, I wish to congratulate you for a good surgery that you did. You end up with really nothing because the other problem that they. So pressure has to be looked at, and macular edema has to be looked at. These are two.
Wonderful. We've covered it all. Excellent.
So most of these patients, they have, because of this large injury involving the ciliary body also, what we have seen is that they have a huge vitreous hemorrhage also. So then you cannot assess the retina at the first sitting. And, last week we did a patient, we operated, the patient was okay. And we had worked up the patient has come from somewhere else. But a repeat sonography showed something, and the patient with CT scan turned out to have an IOFB. So, these patients really need so many, very, very close, and, a lot of medical legal problems also. So all these have to be addressed.
Yes.
We did do a B scan before the surgery, and the B scan showed was fairly normal. Also, as long as the inflammation was concerned, there was a microdispersion hyphema which was there, which we treated initially, and also the IOP was raised. So we waited for the IOP to become normal. The iris actually fell back after controlling inflammation, and only then we took the patient for the surgery.
Anyway, wonderful. So, you stay